taking apart a shotgun shell backwards. In most cased ammunition for rifle, pistol, or anything other than a shotgun, the cartridges are based on a metal object called the case or hull. And in the back, you have a primer that's pushed in that cannot be pulled out. It's not able to be done. There is a way of doing it, I know that, but that's for spent primers. Not for ones that didn't go off when you wanted them to, and now it's just a grenade waiting to happen. The other end has a bullet in it, the projectile. And in between is the propellant, gunpowder or smokeless powder. The normal way of taking these cartridges apart, virtually all of them, is to put them into a clamping device of some kind and either physically pull the bullet out using special tools that are designed to tolerate the thing going off by accident. Because if you're going to take apart live ammo, you assume it's going to blow up. If you don't treat it like it's going to blow up and just plan for it, you're going to get hurt. So everybody who does this intelligently makes sure that the shit won't let them get hurt. If you own a bullet puller or kinetic bullet remover or impact remover for a bullet, and it's not designed to have the cartridge go off in it, get rid of it and get one that works. I don't care if it costs another $10. The cartridge going off in your room, throwing shit everywhere, and maybe hurting you, it has to be contained by the tool. If it isn't contained by the tool, you're a tool. So let's move on. Anyway, when the bullet comes out, the propellant comes out, unless there's some other stuff stuck in it, like a cork or something. And after that, then, from the end where the bullet was, you push in a pin and push out the primer. And this is done in a piece of equipment, again, that's designed to pop out the primer and reshape it and whatever. And it's presumed it's designed to tolerate a live primer going off once in a while, because that happens. Now, why would someone need to do that? They try to fire the cartridge and the primer's bad? The only thing worse than a live round is a live round with a bad primer, because it's going to encourage you to do stupid shit. Very stupid, apparently. You can watch YouTube videos for Darwin Awards if you want to. I'm done with that. But basically, when it's out of the gun, because there's nothing containing the pressure, it is a very tiny grenade or a full-sized one, depending on what caliber you're dealing with, or cartridge type. Now, I'm going to prepare a dummy round for 12 gauge. This is the only exception to the primer can't be pulled out thing. And I bring this up because you can see YouTube videos where people take apart cartridges in the most dangerous way I have ever seen. Yes, you can unravel the end where the projectiles come out, pull out everything in it, and then pull out the plugs from that end, sometimes without damaging them, pour out the propellant in another container, and at that point you just get out the primer. The shotgun primer is the only kind of primer, it's called a 209 primer, that you can actually reuse by popping it out. The others can't. I mean, okay, some companies made one you can, but those are massive exceptions, don't do it. So I'm going to show you the components we're going to deal with. This is our primer. It's called the 209 primer. It's shaped like a top hat. It's 0.24 inches in diameter, and its length is around 0.3 inches. There's a lot of variability. It's usually tapered. That's important. But it has a little flange on it called a rim right there. And that primer in there is 0.209 to 0.210 inches, aka a large primer for pistol or rifle. It's not exactly that. You shouldn't say that it is, but it really is. The smaller one is about 0.17 something inches. Okay, now, is this a live or dead primer? Well, you don't know until you set it off, so assume it's a live primer. It's a dead primer. I just smacked out the back so it looked like a live primer. And now we're going to show you the projectile. This is from a noise blank. Most of the noise comes from a cork that comes out, and this is the cork. It's a rubber plug, has a hollow base towards the propellant, and the front is a blunt face here. It looks like an end cap you'd have on a cane almost. It's just tinier. And this is our hull. Normal shotgun shells do not have a thick wall to it. And as you can see from the light, it is empty. And I'm going to do the proper test. See that? Go from here. Excuse me. See that? Okay. Now normally you'd remove everything from this end and push in your little push rod, and you get in there and you'd push out your primer, because if you can't tell, I'll show you. A shotgun primer has a very small hole there, but the majority of the surface area, the front of it, is a blunt face. Now obviously if you shove something in there, a tinier object, it'll set it off. But at that point, You only dink with that if there's nothing else in it. And again, you put it inside of something that contains it. So I'm going to assemble off screen here through the magic of not putting it in front of you. Our shotgun primer going in, and I can just barely get it in. This is worn out. And I'm going to put in the cork. And make your jokes about the facial expression. Okay, now, when handling ammo, we don't point it towards our face in any dimension possible. You notice how I'm rotating with it. If I can see the primer, it's at a bad angle. Same thing with the cork. And then I turn it up and down or this way. I don't want to point it at my hand. I just did when I spun it around. Don't do that. You have to be really careful with shit. Okay, now I'm going to bring up the items that are used to pull out the primer, if I haven't already. These are not the right things. These are side cuts, otherwise known as diagonal cutters. They have a nice smooth surface here, but they have a 45-degree angle here. If you try to get under the flange to get it out with those, it might squeeze it or slip, and it has the ability to pinch and hit the primer and set it off if it hasn't already been set off. If it doesn't go off the right way, it can go off the wrong way a lot more likely. Here's a set of needle nosers. We can't use these either because, again, they can pinch and set it off. And yes, while wearing headphones and eye protection and a hood and a cup, codpiece, I made sure that I checked these. So we can get it out using an item that's called a spudger in the electronics world. It's for taking apart cell phones. But we're going to use more of the idea of what's called a pocket watch knife. It's a knife that's designed on purpose to have a very thin edge, but it's not sharp. And it's for taking the backs off of pocket watches. This is a really odd thing. Go look it up. I'm not going to explain it. I made one by just getting a really small bladed knife that's fairly thin, but at least somewhat thickened, and sharpened it really good and then dulled it a little bit with a sandpaper. Now, there's a tool you can get off of Amazon that's designed to pull a shotgun primer. $5 versus, oh, I'm holding a shotgun shell. Bang, I'm missing at least 1 or 2 fingers. Now, why would anybody do this without the proper tool? $5 down below in the description. I'm not getting any money out of it. I want you to keep your fingers. You might need to do it because, honestly, you don't know how to do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it to show you why this is hinky. Because the way you do it is, again, holding it to where I can't hurt myself. Gee, that looks natural. You put the thing in, you push in, and you pop it out, and it comes right out. And it lands in a bucket because you don't care. It's a dead primer. And you keep it pointing up like this so that the propellant, you assume there's gunpowder or smokeless powder in here. You can just pour it out in one bin, tap, 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 and then take the cartridge apart because at that point it's pellets or slug or bullets or nails, whatever you loaded it with. The point is, you presume it's going to go off because it's ammo. That's what it's designed to do. But let's say, okay, now we're at the point, again, at 8 minutes and 30 seconds, buy the right tool, buy equipment that makes it to where you can't hurt yourself. How do we do this if we're in a pinch? Number one, you shouldn't do it. Take the ammo that's bad, contact the police and say, I want to anonymously, with no questions asked, drop off some bad ammo. It didn't go off when it was fired. The primers are dented. I want to get rid of it. Well, you can't. No, I want no questions asked asserted. I'm going to record you. If you ask questions, I'm just going to give it to you. It's old bad ammo. I don't want to deal with it. Don't care why. It's shotgun shells. You have to hear the word yes. If they say anything other than, well, yeah, you can bring it down, you immediately call another police department because they're not willing to understand, I need to do this for safety reasons. Protect and serve, bitch. But other than that, you can take it to somebody who reloads ammo. Don't put it on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or any other dumb idea you had. Okay, now I've done all that. How do we more safely remove it? Don't hang on to it when you're setting it off. Presume it's going to go off. Even with the right equipment, it'll go off sometimes. This is a blank. Blanks are more powerful than most cartridges. This one has to be a low-power blank that can't do anything. And I've removed the propellant. But I got the primer and projectile in it, even though it was just a cork. So it's an overpowered cork gun. Safety equipment number 457/75 or whatever. a mop handle. It's a steel mop handle. Steel mop handles, in most cases, for ergonomic reasons, have an exterior diameter that makes an interior diameter that's very close to a shotgun shell. Yeah, I wrapped a little bit of tape in it to hold it tighter. Again, pointing away from everything. You put it in, make sure you pull out the little thing at the other end. It has to be a hollow tube. You push it in from the edge. Again, we're going to treat this like it's a bad primer. You point it straight into the ground. Do not put this in a vise with a cartridge in it. Point it at the ground, clamp it in place, and then put this in. Point it at the ground and put a bucket around it, taller than the base of it. Do not load it with water. Do not do that. It will blow up worse. Water's non-compressible. You fill it up with sawdust. You put it about a ½ inch above the sawdust pile. And you put that bucket inside of a bucket full of water. Put some rocks at the bottom too. The idea is it will absorb the charge and blast and direct it straight into it and stop when it hits the water. You do not want to close the end off of basically, if you made it long enough, 26 inches or longer, straight legal shotgun barrel by plugging the barrel and setting off a cartridge. That makes it a grenade. This is thin walled. It will blow up. Don't do that. All right? Now I'm going to show you how to do this with our spudger, spondicle, whatever. I'm going to be holding it at an angle for field expediency in the field camping. This is the only reason I can think of doing this. You got a shell, you want to make sure you pull the primer out, get the propellant out. You're going to throw it in the fire afterwards to get rid of it. You just don't want to deal with these bouncing around in the car on the way home from a hunting trip or whatever. All you have to do is remove the primer, pour out the propellant, and call it good. The rest of it's easy. Okay? Warning, don't do this with this improper tool. This is not the right tool. $5 stinking. No, really. It's like a little nail puller for a really fat nail kind of design. Okay? All right. 12 minutes. This is what it looks like. If it's countersunk too much for you to get in there, stop. If you touch at all the surface of that primer, stop. Cover it with a little bit of ink from a marker so you know if you've hit it by accident. If you make one mistake, stop. Keep your hands now shielded by the metal tube, mop handle, like this. You can also use a shotgun barrel. Pop the gun apart and take the shotgun barrel out. This will keep you from hurting yourself. Do not aim it in dirt. Do not put it in water. It will blow up. You are holding a grenade. Treat it like one. Now let's not pull the pin. It has to be dull enough you can do that without hurting yourself. Oh God, the blood. No, really, it has to be completely dull. We go in at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to show it this way and get the fuck away from it. We put in our point edge in at a 45-degree angle. Illustrative purposes only. Now I'm going to stop trying to do this with the camera and do it for real. We put it in at a 45-degree angle so we get underneath the lip. We press in with very light pressure and we crank down again and again. Go over to the 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock position. Do it again. Eventually you're going to slip, probably, which will freak you out. Expect it. Again, treat it like it's going to go off. Make sure the tube you're using is 26 inches long or longer. This is 26 and a half. Yes, I measured it. It's actually the plunger handle. It's the deluxe model. Now, once we get it to the point that we're getting, clicky, clicky, where I'm going, okay, flip it over. Again, it has to be a dull enough blade you can get away with this. Get in there with the back of the blade and crank it up. You can probably get it all the way out. Then if you can't get it all the way out, use needle nose pliers that are truly needle nosed. Get underneath it, just barely, and how many of you just shit? It's the fourth take and I keep doing that. Anyway, when it comes out, it's not dangerous, but treat it like it is and make sure that part with the business end of the bang button is pointed up. Set the damn thing down. Now you pull out your cartridge. Set down your metal tube that's totally not a shotgun. It's a firearm. Now, we're going to pour out our propellant, tappy, 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 into something, or just throw it onto some paper and put it in the fire. Later, not right now. And then we take out our pushing thing. We put it in through where the primer was, whatever diameter needs to be there, stick or anything, and push out our contents. You can also just leave it that way, throw it in the back of the truck, and put the primer somewhere. You can also get away with putting the primers in a bottle and keeping it from hurting you. This has been a tutorial-ish on how to take out the primer from blank cartridges only. Live rounds, again, just turn them over to the cops or get an ammo guy. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.